Now here's a format that's been and gone, but passed me by while it was out. It's probably flown under the radar of quite a few people watching this as well. This is commonly referred to as a DTS CD, although its official name, looking at this, seems to be the DTS 5.1 music disc. You see, they can't really use the compact disc name on this because it doesn't comply with the CD standard, and therefore they also can't put the familiar compact disc logo on the disc itself, and that's despite the fact that this is supposed to be played on a compact disc player. Here's the issue. If I put this DTS 5.1 demo disc in a CD player, it's recognised as a CD. It identifies the correct number of tracks as well as their playtime, and you can navigate the disc as you would any normal CD. However, if I turn up the volume, it sounds like this. And of course the reason this sounds like that is because it contains 5.1 DTS surround sound, and therefore the audio needs to be sent through a DTS decoder before you can listen to it properly, as they're keen to point out around the outer edge of this disc. The first DTS CDs seemed to appear around about 1995 from a company called HDS. At least they issued a sampler in 95. It was the next year, 96, when they issued a few albums remixed in surround sound for the format. And that is really very early for DTS in the home. Too early, in fact, because hardly anyone would have a DTS decoder at home at this point. You've got to think 1995, 96. Well, that predates DVD players, but it also predates the first DTS soundtrack laserdisc by a couple of years. I think to see where DTS CD fits in, we need to go back to the beginning and see when DTS started. The first movie with the DTS soundtrack was Jurassic Park in 1993. DTS was a rival to the Dolby Digital format, which had been launched about a year prior. But unlike that one, which stores its digital audio on the film print in the space between the sprocket holes, DTS used a separate CD-ROM, which was synced with the film using timecodes. Some physical advantages claimed for this approach were that if you wanted to change the audio language, you only had to swap out the CDs rather than all the film reels, and that a CD was unaffected by the wear and tear on the film. Spielberg was an early investor in DTS, and as a result, Universal also chose to back the format. Now, as far as home cinema is concerned, Jurassic Park came out on Laserdisc in 1994, but this first version didn't include a DTS soundtrack. It would be another 3 years before the first DTS Laserdisc came out, and in 1997 that first title was, you guessed it, Jurassic Park. But with only this one film to play, it's no wonder that in 1997 DTS decoders in the home were still rather uncommon. With the 1997 launch of DTS Laserdiscs, the demand for DTS decoders in the home starts to gather momentum. And this is also the same year that DTS signs a deal with Image Entertainment to distribute their 5.1 surround audio discs. They were anticipating a scenario where a home cinema enthusiast with deep pockets and a state-of-the-art AV setup would want something else to play through it once he'd done watching his handful of DTS movies, and this is where their new DTS surround music CDs were going to come in. Over the next couple of years, the catalogue of 5.1 DTS discs grew to around 115 titles. As an interesting aside, the total number of Laserdisc titles that were released with a DTS soundtrack is shown on the Laserdisc database as being 160, but if you strip out the cancelled titles from the list, also remove the titles with multiple releases, the total number of unique Laserdisc movies with DTS soundtracks was just 116. Of course, the reason there weren't more DTS Laserdisc titles is because, well, DVD came along. It stole Laserdisc's lunch, and it became a massive success over the next few years. So you'd expect that the DTS CD would be able to ride on the coattails of this success. After all, when the DTS CD came out, hardly anyone had a DTS decoder in their home. But with the wide-scale adoption of the DVD, a lot more households started installing home cinema systems. And of course, DTS weren't about to let this new opportunity pass them by. There was a big push on the 5.1 music disc format in 1999. That's when Volume 1 of the demo disc came out. However, after that big 1999 push and various proclamations in the press that 5.1 was the future of music, the number of titles that are available on this format barely seems to grow over the next year. Paging in time forward through the list of available titles that are shown on the DTS website revealed that a number of the coming soon titles or future releases never migrate across into the available now list. I was particularly interested in finding a copy of Snoop Dogg's album, No Limit Top Dog, that apparently was going to be the first, and I quote, major rap album in 5.1. However, as the list of available titles was updated, this title just seemed to vanish off the future releases section, and it appears that this one never saw a DTS CD release. Now, looking through that website, it appears to me that the momentum on this format really stopped round about the year 2000. And I can only guess at the real reasons behind that, but I've got some that I've written down. I think are pretty good educated guesses. The first one I'd say is the public's apathy to physical surround sound formats. There were a number of attempts over the years to sell surround sound music formats to the general public, none of which met with any great success. Getting people to buy a whole new set of equipment, put speakers all around the room, buy different formats, that's never worked. But as far as the actual equipment goes for the DVD players, well, even though those were selling like hotcakes, they were selling more to the general public again. So we're not talking about the enthusiasts who were into the laserdiscs. You'd have to be an enthusiast if you were paying for a laserdisc, and you therefore got the whole home cinema system, the big screen, all the rest of it. But when DVD came out, it starts selling after that initial enthusiast market into the more general market, and those people, they don't care about all that stuff. They just want to watch a movie on a disc. So they attach it up to the TV and listen through the TV speakers, and they're happy with that. Maybe someone buys a home cinema in a box type thing. But those aren't really suited for playing surround sound music like this. The rear speakers are more just effects speakers, which are great for movies. Adds a lot to that. But yeah, as far as playing back music and having the same quality through all the speakers around the room, they didn't really have that in mind. I'd also say there's a lot of confusion with this format. I mean, trying to describe it to anyone is tricky. It's a CD, but it's not really a CD because you don't want to play it in your car, stereo, or on your home CD player, unless that CD player is connected up to your AV system, but that AV system has to have a DTS decoder in it. You're probably best just playing it in your DVD player, even though it's not a DVD. It's a mess of a thing. And then you've got the rival surround sound formats, all going for that same small group of enthusiasts. And indeed, the last nail in the DTS CD coffin was hammered in 2001, when DTS started issuing their surround sound music titles on the DVD audio format. This seems to mark the end of any further releases on the DTS CD, aka 5.1 music disc. Now, at the time of the release of this 1999 demo disc, which is Volume 1, they included this booklet showing all the currently available titles, and in here there are a total number of 82. That's excluding the future releases shown here. Now, if you look under R&B, there's 4 titles, one of which is Ohio Players Fire. That's one of the ones I've picked up here. But under Rock and Pop, you'll see there's no entry for The Police, and they're not shown in the future releases either, and yet that's the one I've got here. So looking at the back of this, apparently it came out in the year 2000, so this is one of the later ones. Now, strangely enough, the Ohio Players one has got a date on the back here of 2001, DTS Incorporated. But I suspect that this is a reissue in this rather snazzy packaging, because this was one of the early titles as well. So it looks like they perhaps just reissued it so they could put it in a new box. And also notice, £1.99. So this one did make its way to the UK at some point. I really didn't think they sold them here, but it somehow ended up in a shop at that price and still did not sell. Okay, so I'm going to open this one. There goes the collector's value. Now, as I was taking the shrink wrap off this, I realised that this is the same style of jewel case as used on DVD audio discs. So does that mean what I've got in here is actually not a DTS CD, it's a DVD-A. One thing with DVD audio boxes, they're always a bit of a fiddle to get into, despite the fact they look quite nice. I think I'm pushing the wrong bit. I'm always afraid of breaking stuff like this because you're not going to get a spare one, are you? There we go. Right. Okay, well, there's no mention on there. It's hard to see it on the camera, but there's no mention of either DVD audio or DTS CD. Of course, they couldn't mention the CD aspect. Let's just have a look. I don't know. Does that look like a CD or a DVD? You can see here, we've got the DVD audio logo. Maybe there's something in the booklet that'll help me out with this one. Let's see what's in here. So we've got all the lyrics. See if there's any mention about the tech inside here. Yeah, just on about the mastering. It says here, each DVD audio disc from DTS Entertainment includes a DTS Master Quality Multi-Channel soundtrack and a standard stereo track for compatibility with all DVD video players, plus a 5.1 soundtrack for DVD audio players. I suppose the test is whether I can play this in a CD player, because of course you can't play DVDs in a CD. Well, not normal ones anyway, or DVD audio. We'll have to do a bit of experimenting, I think. And it's the exact same situation with the Ohio players. They're in a DVD audio box, and the instructions also mention DVD audio. So I think we need to find out what kind of discs we've got here. I'll put one of these in a CD player and see what happens. Okay, so we know that this produced white noise, but it was recognised as a CD. Let's see what happens when we put one of these discs in here. I suspect it is just a CD, but in a DVD audio box. Let's see what the display shows. Yeah, there we go. 8 tracks. Let's play the first one. Turn the volume up. Yep. I'll just check out the police as well. Right, so it turns out that what I've got here are 2 DTS CDs. Just they've been put in DVD audio cases. A bit of a relief to find out, because I thought for a moment there I bought the wrong format to show in the video. Also confusing that both of the booklets here mention the DVD audio's capability of having dual audio tracks, so you can have the surround sound one or you can have a stereo one. These don't offer that. DTS CDs are just the one version of the audio. It's all surround sound. I do wonder, therefore, if they also sold a DVD audio version of both of these in this same packaging. All very confusing. Anyway, let me try playing these in my DVD player. Correction, I'm actually playing the disc through a Panasonic UHD Blu-ray player, and the on-screen menu that you can see here is being generated by the machine. It's the same one you get with any CD. At the top left of the screen you can see it's being recognised as a CD, and if I bring up the AV amps information menu, you can see at the bottom of the screen it's being decoded as 5.1 DTS. Of course I can't play you any audio from this, but it's coming through just fine at my end. Okay, I've had a look around and I found a DVD audio disc, Fleetwood Mac's Rumours. Notice the DVD logo at the top on there, and also down there at the bottom. So this one, when I put it in this CD player, we shouldn't be able to hear anything at all. And there you go, it can't even read it. Oh, and if you were curious as to what a DVD audio disc looks like played back on the TV, well, with this one you get a main menu, and then each of the tracks gets its own background art as well. Now, of course, one of the benefits of this format is the number of different devices that are capable of playing it. Even this CD Walkman is up to the task. You've just got to have a CD player that has a digital output on it, which this one does here. So I just need to connect up my optical lead to that. And I'm going to plug the other end into this small surround sound decoder. And that's mostly because this was convenient to move around the house. I didn't fancy lugging a large AV receiver. But if we switch this on, you'll see the multi-channel light comes on to show that the multi-channel audio is being decoded. And then that is being sent off to these headphones here. And as far as the overall sound quality goes, whether it's through my headphones or through my speakers, to me, DTS CD sounded excellent. It sounds as good as I'd need anything to sound. And to the reviewers at the time that this came out, they thought the same. I've been unable to find a negative review of DTS CD. And if you're wondering, what does it sound like? Well, I'm sure you've watched a DTS movie at some point. Well, if you've stayed to the end credits and listened to the music while the titles go up, sounds as good as that. I don't think anyone has ever complained about the quality of that audio, and I'm certainly not going to complain about it. I do think, though, that my system probably isn't really good enough for it. I need much better speakers placed very carefully around the room with a seating position dead centre to really get the most out of this. But that's at my end. As far as the quality of the product goes, yeah, no issues. I've got to think, if you were one of those people who heard quad audio in the early 1970s and liked it so much you decided that from then on that's how you wanted all your music to sound, you must have been incredibly frustrated over the years to see so many different, perfectly viable surround sound music formats come and go. Formats like this one. There's absolutely nothing wrong with DTS 5.1 music disc, it just didn't catch on. But I think now we've perhaps finally entered an age of mass adoption of surround sound music. Now we're not dealing with discs, we're dealing with streaming music, and there's the spatial and the 360 audio services that are provided for your smartphone and a set of headphones. The barrier to entry is a lot less than it ever had been with the 4 speakers in a room in the perfect listening position. But then again, there are people with that setup who took the time, the effort, the money to set that up. And to those people, if they've got that set up, well, yeah, this is still a perfectly viable format for them, and it's one worth seeking out. But that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.